Good morning. My name is Ben Meyer. I'm an environmental scientist here at Kenai Watershed Forum.
My name's Ro, and I'm an intern. I'm Alice, and I'm also an intern.
And this morning we're going to go collect water quality samples down at Soldotna Creek. So let's get to it. All right, good morning, everybody. Welcome to the video training series for the Kenai River Baseline Water Quality Monitoring Project. This project was originally conceived in 1997 as part of the Kenai River Comprehensive Management Plan. This was a high-level planning exercise with many different agencies to look at the future of the Kenai River and its habitat. One big recommendation from this report was to start a water quality monitoring program, and that's what you'll be doing as part of this work. The first year of the program was in the year 2000, and it's been carried out in very similar fashion ever since then, with dozens of different organizations and agencies all contributing their time, effort, and support. The basic idea with this work is to take observations on a regular basis so that we can look at change over time. Although most of the things we're measuring as part of this project are invisible, they can have very real concerns for the health and well-being of the people, wildlife, and fish of the Kenai. This work has been carried out over 20 years by many different groups and many different individuals. So in order to be able to compare results across space and time, it's important that we do this work consistently in consistent ways on a year-to-year basis. So I ask you to watch these videos carefully, and if you have questions, don't hesitate to contact us. 6 weeks before your sampling event, you'll be contacted by the water quality coordinator. 1 week before the sampling event, make sure you schedule a time with your sampling team to come in and do in-person training. And at least 1 day before your sampling event, make sure that you're able to come pick up your equipment to be ready to go out the next day. We're down here by the mouth of Soldotna Creek, which is one of the sites for the Kenai River Baseline Water Quality Monitoring Program. When you come in to pick up your equipment, you'll receive a reminder note like this to take your ice packs out of the freezer the night when you go into the field. So make sure you leave this note in the seat of the vehicle that you're going to use the next morning. Take your ice packs out of the refrigerator and put them into the cooler when you go out to the field to help keep your water quality samples cool. Once you're at your site, the first thing you'll do is make sure this scene is safe. Are there hazards around? Are there bears? And the second thing you'll want to do is make sure that this site is still representative of the body of water that you're here to sample. For example, if there's 10 boats that just did circles right around in front of the spot you were planning to sample, wait for the water to settle down. Or for example, if there's a dead moose right in the middle of your stream, you would want to sample upstream of that obstacle rather than directly downstream. One other thing to note at your site is make sure you're collecting your water samples not in the mixing zone of where a tributary meets the main stem of the Kenai River, but if you're sampling a tributary, directly in the tributary, and if you're sampling the main stem Kenai River, directly in the Kenai River, and not in the zone where those two bodies of water intersect. When you're at your site, you can use our pre-printed Right in the Rain form to collect basic information about your site visit. That'll include date, time, initials of the person recording data, something about the weather, do you observe boat traffic, did you take photos at the site, and finally we're going to take some observations about the water itself using our YSI water quality probe. You'll use the water quality probe to record characteristics about water at the site, including temperature, pH, dissolved oxygen, and conductivity. As part of this work, we'll also be measuring turbidity of the site, but we'll be using equipment back at the lab to measure that. Now that we've taken all of our observations about this site, we're going to start actually collecting water quality samples. But before we do that, we're going to decide who's going to be who on our team here. 2 of us are going to be clean hands, and 1 of us is going to be dirty hands. Who wants to be clean hands? Me. Okay, that means you're going to be dirty hands. That means you're going to help us get on our gloves. The first step of this process is the person who is the dirty hands is going to open up the sample bag at this site, find the gloves, and then without having to reach into the bag of gloves more than necessary, grab 1 glove by the cuff, and put it on. So once our dirty hands person has their gloves on, they're gonna help get the clean hands folks gloves on. So you can go ahead and open the cooler again and get our bag of gloves out. And you'll pull out one glove by the cuff and hold it open for our first clean hands person to put on, which will be me. I'll slide it in. All right. And then Alice is gonna grab one more glove by the cuff and hold it open for me to slide on. And try not to punch. Thank you. One person on your team will be filling out the labels. Each kit comes with pre-printed labels on waterproof sticky paper. So the dirty hands person will be using a pencil to write information on these labels about the date, time, and sample type. For each of these labels, make sure to use the same time that you wrote on your initial site data sheet. So if you wrote down 9:53 a.m., that's the time that you'll write on all of your sample labels, even if maybe 5 or 10 minutes pass between collecting the different bottles. It'll be the same time for all of them. All right, our first sample type is fecal coliform. So Hellis, our dirty hands person, is gonna open up the interior bag, and while not reaching in, she's gonna open it up and kind of show us where the fecal coliform bottle is. There it is. This is a 120 milliliter clear vial, and they usually have a seal on top. So you can go ahead and remove that seal and just discard it back into the cooler. And this sample, we'll collect it just directly from the creek. So I'm gonna walk down to the creek and just scoop it directly into the water up to the 100 milliliter line and put the cap back on. Our next sample type after fecal coliform is dissolved metals. For this sample and several others in our next sequence, we're gonna collect water in our large 1 liter bottle. We'll scoop this directly into the stream, and then we'll pour water from this into our sample collection vial, which for dissolved metals, our sample collection bottle looks like this. You'll see that there's no colored stickers on it, which means it has no preservatives. Our next sample type is hydrocarbons. The sample collection vials look like this. They're small brown glass vials, and there's 3 of them. You'll fill them all up in the exact same way. And your pre-printed labels will say 1 of 3, 2 of 3, or 3 of 3. They're all part of the same sample, but they're in 3 different vials. Here, Rose breaking the label for our first hydrocarbon sample vial. I'm gonna fill the water level up on these vials all the way to the top. In fact, it even might spill a little bit over the top. But the important part is we want to not leave an air gap in these vials because we're measuring a volatile compound. So you can see there's a meniscus forming over the top of this vial. You can go ahead and put the cap directly back on top of that. Once your first bottle is full, you can repeat that same procedure for the other 2 bottles in the same way. Once all 3 of your hydrocarbon vials are full, you can go ahead and seal them into the package that they came from. Ro just removed the sticky tape along the top, and now they're all safely padded in the bubble wrap. It's important to note that not all sampling locations collect hydrocarbon samples. There's only 4 locations where hydrocarbon samples are collected, and you'll hear from your water quality coordinator if your sites are among those sites. Our next sample type is total metals. This is a bottle that has a red preservative sticker on it. It looks like this. And with this sample, you'll pour water from your 1 liter collection vial into the smaller bottle. Our next sample type is for nitrogen and phosphorus. Our bottle looks like this. It has sulfuric acid in it as a preservative and usually has a yellow sticker. With this sample, we'll also be pouring water from our 1 liter vial into the smaller sample vial. Using our 1 liter bottle to sample to be analyzed for total suspended solids. At this point, it's probably only about halfway full, so you'll want to reach back into the river and scoop it up so that it's full back up to the neck. Our last sample type to talk about is field blanks for total metals and dissolved metals. Not all sites are assigned field blanks. There are 2 random sites for each sampling event that are assigned to collect field blanks. If your crew is collecting field blanks, the project coordinator will tell you about them. I'm gonna reach in and grab This bottle that's already full of water that we received from the lab. This is ultra pure distilled water that should have no substances in it. So we're not collecting water from the stream or the river. We're just going to pour water that was brought from the lab into one of our sample bottles that I'll have Ro grab out. So that's for total metals, perfect. And now for the field blanks, we're pouring the ultra pure distilled water from the lab into our total metals field blank bottle. And good, up to the neck, back on. All right, and now we're gonna pour the ultra pure distilled water from the lab into our dissolved metals bottle, up to the neck. And we'll put the caps back on. And you can stick that back in the bag it came from. And we'll be repeating the same thing for total metals as well. And with that, we've collected all the different types of water quality samples that are being monitored in this project as of August 2024. Maybe you're curious about what happens to these samples once they've been collected. Our fecal coliform samples and total suspended solid samples are analyzed by the Soldotna wastewater treatment plant, and the rest of our sample types go to SGS laboratories in Anchorage. Once we have the data all wrapped up and through some quality assurance procedures, you'll be able to access it in the EPA Water Quality Exchange online database. Thanks everyone for your time and support and all your hard work on this project. We look forward to seeing you out there every year, and job well done, team.